President Edgar Lungu of Zambia says the country's general elections were not free and fair. Lungu said his party, the Patriotic Front, is consulting on the way forward. In a statement, President Lungu said that the Patriotic Front polling agents were attacked and chased away from polling stations in 3 provinces. He added that 2 of his party agents were murdered and some of his supporters are in hiding following the criminal acts. The Patriotic Front reported that it could only compete in 7 provinces, while the opposition, the United Party for National Development, was able to contest in 10 provinces. Lungu's announcement comes after the African Union Election Observer Mission said the general election was conducted in a peaceful, transparent and professional manner. And to talk more on this, we're joined by Dr. Charles Senkala, who's the president of the Organization of African Political Parties Forum. Good evening to you, Doctor, and thank you so much for your time tonight. He is saying that the elections are not free and fair. Is he correct?
It depends. Good evening to you and the listeners across Africa and wherever they're listening us. It depends where President Lungu is looking at the things. You must remember that President Lungu is the incumbent president of the Republic of Zambia. He has all his machinery at his disposal. He's the one who organized these elections. He had 5 years to organize and making sure that the elections are free and fair. That is, I think, one of the matrices political parties ascertain to, that the elections must be free and fair. But it is very surprisingly, actually quite laughable by a government in power to say the elections are not free and fair and that they've been denied access to certain places. It is something that one cannot understand. But again, when you look at the African continent and the politics, when one is about to lose or is losing the elections, they always call it that they are not free and fair. But again, the observers who's been on the ground there, they have actually seen how peaceful, how the Zambians turned out in large numbers, to depict and choose a government that should represent their plights. A lot of young people, I was actually very surprised that a lot of young people actually turned around to, to participate and making sure that they choose a new government that will look after their aspirations and what they desire.
And what could be then the impact of some of the reports of the violence that we saw in the days leading up to the election, and also this internet, restriction that others were saying that could be seen as, further fueling speculation that the processes may not be as free as they thought they would be?
Yes, but who demanded the ICT to switch off the internet? It was President Lungu himself, because he's still in charge until the elections, or he hands over the power to the next president should a next president wins the elections apart from him. So he, I think, with these security agencies, thought that because of the influx of information and communication through the social media, they thought it was very wise of them to switch off the internet so that people do not announce the premature election results. But again, this has backfired to his leadership, where now he's addressing the issue, writing letters to the EC regarding the elections that they were not free and fair. Communication is one of the major things that we have to live with, especially in this 4th industrial revolution, that we must embrace communication. So now, if they switch off the internet and the communication, it becomes again the problem to communicate to remote access, to access polling stations which are very remote, and this is what they faced. But there was an application through the High Court, which was the judgment was said that the internet must be restored. Until last night, even yesterday, the internet was restored and the calmness has continued. Yes, the violence will be there, with every something that people are fighting for, especially now that people are awake. They demand answers and good governance and accountability. There will be some crashes because also we experience some resistance. from certain individuals who feel that even if the government is doing something wrong, because they are eating and they're very close to them, they see nothing and they shall support them. So there is some resistance on the ground. I see some shots has been fired as well. Some PF, the ruling party chairperson of in Solwezi, northwest of Zambia, was killed, I think, leading to the elections or during the elections. Another one was killed. But, these are the costs of freedom. For freedom, we are not given freely. Freedom, we must grab it. And I think once this has passed and the sooner the elections are announced tonight, then Zambia will be on the trajectory of renewal.
When you look at, what he says in his statement, he says that he's still consulting then on the next decision that they're now going to have to make. Could we see this ending up in the courts?
Yes, it will end up in court. I think he feels that it's been verified. But, issuing the statement, I read the statement was issued from State House, which is the government. During this time, the government was suspended. He's a caretaker president of the Republic of Zambia until the elections are announced otherwise. He was supposed to issue the statement from the PF as a candidate in the elections of 2021, August 12, to demand that they're having challenges. But again, the ECE, they cannot address something which happened in the past. It's quite unfortunate that they issued that letter today. They should have issued this letter of seeing something not going well, even before the observers had concluded their finding and observing mission that the elections were free and fair. But in any case, these are the kicks of the dying horse. I think Zambians, they've made a decision, to choose a leader that will represent them. We've seen already other opposition political parties like the former ruling party and the party which gained the multipartism, the movement for multi-party democracy, the MMD. They issued a statement yesterday to concede the defeat that they know how the elections are going, and they requesting calm, and many other political parties have come to show that solidarity. But the ruling party, if they have to take up that space, to fight that the elections are not fair and fair, it is quite unfortunate, especially that they are at the helm of the power and in charge of making sure that the elections are free and fair and there's peace and security within the country.
And Dr. Sankala, finally, very briefly, let's look then at the role of the new president. Should Hakainde Hichilema, be successful here, a tough road ahead, reviving the economy and also the country's democratic credentials is going to be critical.
Yes. I'm actually was supposed to run for president this August 12. I had to withdraw because of so many political parties in my country, Zambia, and we thought that we must field up a candidate that will take off the peer from, whatever their governance. The wasted 10 years in Zambia has been very peaceful. We must remember that the vision carrier of the peer Patriotic Front, which is a ruling party at this stage, died in office, and President Lungu came at a time that he even considered that he doesn't have a vision, and many unemployment levels and poverty has escalated, and the debt as well as he moved from $60 billion to almost $20 billion. The country is living under debt. And people, decide to work with them, and I think they've changed the decision. I think it is the right thing that the Zambians now have a choice of choosing another political party, that might represent their plight. We hope that peace and security within the country prevails, that people must accept the defeat. We must remember also that very quickly that Hakainde was incarcerated for more than 90 days. He also cited of not free and fair treatment. But again, President Lungu is the one now who is on the other side of the fence.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Sankala, for your time. That was Dr. Charles Sankala, who is the president of the Organization of African Political Parties Forum, just talking to us about the latest from Zambia. We do understand there is a briefing, of course, that is also currently underway, which is going to be then announcing the way forward. We'll